Hi, I'm Kay from Genius Within.
And I'm Nicola from Genius Within.
Today we'd like to share with you some of the coaching models which we use with the participants who we support on the BBO Connecting Choices programme.
And we will be looking at a journey from the start of a job search through to that point when you get to an interview. So from this slide, you can see that this is a slide helping us to look at the best ways to find employment. So Kay, if you were looking for a job, what do you think would be the best way for gaining or finding that position of opportunity?
Well, I think I may have traditionally thought that the best way is to put my CV out there, to apply, to look for jobs on the internet. But looking at this information, Nicola, asking for job leads from family members and friends and people in the community, I might start to think a little bit more about my job search, because the success rate there is 33% if I start asking people that I know and looking for opportunities in the community. Okay, but then it moves up to 47% if I actively start knocking on the door of potential employers, factories or offices, and asking them whether they've got any jobs going, because sometimes they may actually choose to employ me whether they've got a vacancy or not. If I seem to be quite keen, they may think, oh, maybe we could work with this person. Maybe there is something that this person could do for us. Okay, another option is to use the yellow pages as well as researching on the internet, and cold calling. Cold calling can actually work quite well. Okay, it can be a bit of a daunting task to hit the phones and actually call potential employers, but it does show great initiative, and also you can get support with that from us at Genius Within, as well as the providers who support you as well. 65% success rate there, Nicola, with cold calling and starting to use your initiative and contact employers directly.
Absolutely. So yeah, those three factors really show us there, don't they? Some of the really good sort of proactive ways of seeking for that position. But point number 4, I guess, which is combining all three things and spending quite a lot of time thinking about what it is that you really would like to do and how that fits in with your lifestyle. So some people don't want to work in the day, they prefer night shifts, and therefore to make sure that position and the work they're looking for is going to be giving them the opportunities that work best for them. So this model is called the Triune Brain, which was developed by, proposed by a neuroscientist called Paul MacLean in 1960s. And this shows us how our brain works and things that we need to consider to look after in order to work at our best. So if we have a think about the fact we are in a position now where we have a job interview. So we would need to think about quite a few different things before that job interview. So Kay, what kind of things would we be thinking about maybe, or need to think about before that job interview?
I think if I hadn't been for a job interview for a while, I'd probably be quite nervous. I'd want to know where I was going to, where the interview was. I'd be concerned, for example, to get enough sleep the night before, make sure I was prepared, make sure I knew a little bit about the company, so that if I was asked about the company, I could answer the questions. In terms of my confidence, I'd want to prepare myself. I'd get my clothes ready, I think, the day before. I'd do some reading. I'd think about questions that I wanted to ask them as well. I think that's important before I go for an interview.
So lots of things to think about, which when we're before our interviews, there's lots of different things going on for us. And when we're thinking about this in regards to our brain, first thing, most importantly, we might like to think about or need to think about is that part to do with our reptilian brain that you can see there that's in the red. And this is the part of our brain that's responsible for keeping us alive. So we need to really think about those basic things, like, you mentioned there, Kay, about sleep. Have we had enough sleep? So before the night before that job interview, we would like and would need ideally to have, they say 6 hours to 8 hours is the ideal amount of sleep, for a good night's sleep. Because when we're tired, if we haven't had enough sleep, that thought can be really, really powerful. I think also it's things like, in terms of our, have we eaten? Do we have breakfast in the morning?
Yeah, are we hydrated? Have we had a drink? Yeah, sometimes when you're nervous, it can be easy to forget about these things, can't it?
So really important to look after those basic needs, or else our brain will just go into kind of a fight, flight or freeze response, which means it will not function. And all those other things we need to be thinking about just will not happen. And we just won't be functioning at our best. So Kay, you also said about looking after by planning. So tell me a bit about the planning element for you.
I think for myself, if I was going for an interview, I'd want to know where it was, how I was going to get there. Is it best to go on the bus, the train? Is it best to drive? What are the parking facilities like? Who am I meeting? Is there a named person that I'm going to meet when I get there? I'd want to know a little bit about the rules. What were the rules for the day? Which is really linked into the next part of the brain, isn't it, that you're going to outline.
Yeah. So the limbic system, so our emotional brain, or we call it within this model, as you can see on the diagram in front of you as well, our mammalian brain. So this is the part of the brain responsible for that emotional safety. So those feelings, so times when we don't know what's expected of us, we don't know, maybe when we're visiting somewhere new, so a job, an interview in a new building, do we know where we're going? Possibly not. Can we do things to make that part of our brain feel more happy? Can we look up the location on Google Maps? Could we do a little drive past? Could we go for a walk if we're walking there, like a dummy run, really, just so those things are known? And in terms of, I guess, knowing what can be expected of us. I mean, interviews, we don't always know everything that's going to come up in it, but we can do certain things to prepare. So we can practice sort of potential questions that might come up, have a think about some of the answers we might want to give, look at maybe those key skills or key words about ourselves that we would like to put out there during the interview, the punchy words that sell us at our best skills. And also thinking about, looking up the company, reading up on the job you're going for and what they might be.
Really important, isn't it? Some background information. It also helps us to feel better as well if we're well prepared, if we've done some research and we're well prepared. But don't think you have to do that on your own. You can get support with that within Connecting Choices.
And yeah, absolutely. To help ask for support, or your caseworker or ourselves to help look up the company and help you think about what those key skills are that you might want to.
And practice some interview questions as well, because if you haven't had an interview for quite a while, it's important to practice the questions. That helps you to feel better prepared.
Absolutely.
Relax a little bit more.
And I think, thinking about if we can look after those factors, say the day before or a couple of days before we have the job interview, our mammalian brain, our emotional brain is going to feel more calm, and therefore we're going to feel better than, anxious or, stressed on those moments or days before our interview. And within this model, if we don't take control of things like trying to find out what the expectations are in settling our emotional brain, we can just go back into our reptilian brain, and that's when we feel everything's just too much, and
we feel threatened then, don't we?
We don't function at our best. So the last part of this model is the learning brain, also known as the neocortex, which is the part that helps us communicate at our best, makes our creative brain work. We come up with good solutions, looking at learning new things as well. So when we're in a new job environment, we want to be being able to learn at our best, don't we?
We do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So the other parts of the brain have to be functioning in order for us to operate effectively, don't they, at the neocortex level. We won't be learning if we're worried about other things, will we? If we feel we're under threat or we're worried about things, it's difficult then to concentrate, isn't it, and to learn.
Absolutely.
That's one of the models that we use within Genius Within. This model can be applied to lots of things in life, such as stress management, for example, which is one of the things we cover on our course. But if we think about it today in relation to our job search, so what things are outside your control when it comes to looking for a job? Well, looking over on the left-hand side at the top there, other people's actions, other people's words, other people's thoughts. So we're not in control of, for example, what the interviewer says or the questions that the interviewer asks you on the day. But we can try and, what is in my control, the inner circle, is you are in control of your own efforts and your own actions. So, for example, you can prepare some preset questions, and there are only a certain number of questions that you can ever be asked within an interview situations. So if you're well prepared for most of those, I think it's about 12 core questions, and they all relate back to similar things. So if you prepare for those, such as why do you want this job, or why would you be the best person for the job, and we can help you, support you with that, then you are taking control. You are trying to assert control over things. In terms of what you do and what you say, of course, you're absolutely in control. Okay. And coming back to the previous model, the brain, it will help you to feel much better if you've prepared, if you're well prepared. So as Nicola said, your thoughts, your actions on the day, your emotions. So yeah, of course, an interview is a very emotional, it does raise your anxiety levels, but you can attempt to assert some control over that by being well prepared, by knowing what you're going to wear, doing some background research, making sure you've allowed time for your journey on the day. So if you're going by bus, make sure that you know the bus timetable and maybe get the bus, not the last one that you can possibly get, but the one before that. You can control how you react on the day. So put forward, your best face, if you like, your best presentation. And we are going to be talking about communication styles a little bit later today. Your behavior, seem positive. You've got lots of strengths going. Sell yourself. It's not a bad thing to sell yourself. Tell the employer why you would be the best person for the job. Okay, so not why does the employer want me? Why doesn't the employer want you? Why wouldn't they want you? Okay, we're all about positivity at Genius Within. So in terms of taking control, there's lots that may be outside your control. Yeah, the journey on the day. You can't control the weather on the day, for example. It could be that it's pouring down with rain. What would you do, Nicola, if it's a really bad day, do you think,
would it be maybe if I'd planned to walk and then I got up and the weather was really bad, possibly?
Take your brolly. You need to
take my brolly, yeah.
Yeah.
I may, if I was being extra prepared, potentially, I might have looked at other options of getting there if it wasn't just by walking. So I wouldn't feel completely on the spot about what to do. And I think, you were saying about emotions and feelings, really. If I had that preparation, I would have been I would be taking control within that situation of planning my journeys, planning my plan A, plan B. So it wouldn't make me feel that it was out of my control. So actually, I'd feel happier within that situation, just managing that, I think, because of those factors. I think it's a bit like, when we were discussing the brain earlier, Kay, with the whole, have I eaten? Who's in control of that? I am. If I've eaten, I've made a plan A, a plan B. Yes, there's going to still be things on that day that I can't have full control over, but I am actually taking control of a lot of other things, which makes me feel much happier in my emotional brain. And therefore, when I arrive at the interview, I will be in a good place, in a really good place actually, for taking on that interview. In your life-changing job search, you've managed to get
well done. Well done.
Interview. Yeah, brilliant. You've given yourself time to prepare and look after yourself, that brain, look after that very important part of your, very important part of you. And you've also taken quite an active role in that. So think about that model that Kay's talked about, that circle of control. So you are actually at the interview now. So me and Kay, we are just going to talk about those things that might be important to think about when we're meeting new people. So, Kay, when we are going into a job interview, what are the kind of things that you think are important to be aware of when we are meeting new people?
I think it's important, open communication. I like it when somebody smiles at me and they seem that they're happy to see me. They engage me in conversation. They may say something like, how was your journey? Nice to see you today. And you open up that conversation. It's a two-way conversation, isn't it? I think that's quite important to start to build that rapport. We're aiming to build some rapport, aren't we, with the interviewer, whoever meets us on the section.
Yeah, really important to think about, isn't it? Those initial first impressions when we walk in the room. So things like smiles, like that body language that you speak of, some eye contact, the looking, like you say, a smile, a greeting. Also things like maybe how we carry ourselves in our actual physical presence. Sometimes, that can be quite a powerful indicator of how somebody might be feeling, and sometimes it can give off a different impression than maybe actually how you feel inside. So think about keeping your shoulders back, lifting your head up, a positive body stance as well as a positive mind.
We need to sit up, Nicola, don't we?
Yeah, that's it. It makes us both want to sit up thinking.
Yeah. It is important though, isn't it, to sit right, and also to look at the interviewer or the interviewers as well. Don't try not to look down. I know when you're feeling anxious, it's easy to look down or hide behind your fringe or whatever. But it is important to look up, isn't it, to be engaged with what the interviewers are saying, what they're asking you.
And another thing that's important to consider as well is how we're actually speaking what we're saying, so the tone of our voice. So that can be quite telling, and that's another way that people can interpret your communication. So if you're quite positive and uplifted in your tone and sound like you're actually keen and passionate, allow those feelings to come through your voice, because that is a really good indication to how someone's really feeling, rather than if we're kind of shy and reserved, even if inside we're feeling that might not be received by the panel the same.
Absolutely. And when I've been interviewing people previously in this job or previous jobs, I like it when people ask me questions as well. Don't you? When somebody asks me an open question about the job or anything really, it can be if they say, oh, what's it like to work here, etc., why not turn the tables on the interviewers and put them on the spot? That's a really good thing to do. It's a positive thing to do.
Yeah, and I guess that might also show your genuine interest in the position, but also that maybe you've done some reading on the company, or there's something that's of interest to you.
Yeah. So when they say, is there any questions that you want to ask us, always think of a couple of questions. Don't just say no at that point. But we can help you with that.